Welcome back to another episode of T3. I'm your host, Mr. U. Shane Ratliff is in the house. Herb and Raj are on the way. How's it going, brother?
Not bad. How you doing, you?
I'm good, man. We had 6 inches out here, so this city is seeing a phenomenon. We haven't seen that in about 7 years. So the kids outside making snow or ice angels at this point. It's crazy, but how's the weather by you, man?
I mean, it's in the negatives up here, but I mean, for us, that's normal. Like you said, 7 years between snowfalls for you guys, but
yeah, this is a phenomenon. This don't happen out here too often. They even got it down in Panama City Beach, Florida, man. So you know that the weather's going haywire.
The people ice skating in New Orleans is what's driving me wild. Some of those ones are just crazy out there.
If I heard right, that's like 50 or 60 years since that's ever happened. So
yeah,
you got generations that haven't seen snow out there. So this is like huge phenomenon. But it's all good, man. Boy, if you guys are listening to us and watching us, thanks for making us part of your week. We're excited to chat and talk football with you. We do talk sports, but football does dominate the conversation. But of course, always open to baseball and basketball questions where we can get those in. It's already begun. This show is so much better without that Herb guy. This speaking is one half of the Herb and Raj podcast every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. on Central Standard Time. This is the other half of that incredible team. The other one is yet to be here, and he's already getting strays fired at him already. He's not even here yet. I have to bring that one up against when he comes back so you can see that. But in regards to poll questions, I didn't have any poll questions up this week with power outages and snow and all the excitement going with that. Didn't do a poll question, but I do have one for today. Excuse me. So our poll question for tonight: what's the biggest reach in the NFL mock draft so far? I got a lot of answers on that one myself personally, but we'll be tabling that one. We'll bring it back up on the screen so you guys can see it, ponder it, jot your questions down or your answers down, and we can kind of get back into it. But let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of national championship. I want to hear her point this, but he's not here, so we'll see if we can get him in here during that time. But overall thoughts before we get into X's and O's and stuff, overall thoughts on the championship. You are a big Notre Dame fan, so I'd love for you to start riding. So I'm giving you the wheels, brother. Go ahead and jump in.
Well, I'll tell you, Yusuf. I mean, from talking to Herb and Raj on their show, it played out exactly how I thought it would. You know, like you said, I am a huge Notre Dame fan, but the first drive was exactly what I said I thought they would start with. You know, run heavy, try to keep it. Looks like they really ran out of energy after doing that. They did a good job making it more of a game towards the end. But I mean, if you're Notre Dame, other than not getting a victory, I think that game played out the best way you thought it could. You know, you knew it was going to be difficult man-to-man versus them. Receiver talent on Ohio State, the ability to get open. Howard had a huge game, which he hasn't looked, great during the playoff, but had a huge game for them. That offensive line stood tall for him. And, hats off to Ohio State. As a Notre Dame fan, you would have loved to have a championship, but you can't blame anybody for how that game, happened. No conspiracy theories on my end.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard a conspiracy theory at all regarding this game. They got questions about the playoff format and some other things. Of course, the decision by Freeman to go for a field goal in the fourth quarter. That's something that's been discussed, especially being down 16 points. But I didn't hear conspiracy theories. I think it was just a good game. I tell you, when the first play of the game happened, I know that Notre Dame fans had to be drooling at that point. Their first drive was 18 plays. They converted 2 fourth downs. Riley Leonard ran it in for the touchdown, and we're up 7-0. I just kind of felt like, okay, this team is coming to play. So I was kind of surprised by the result. I'm like, okay, especially going toward the third and fourth quarter, I just thought it would be more competitive there. We talked last week about how their secondary is going to hold up. They have one of the best secondaries in college football. You wonder how they're going to hold up against Jeremiah and some of these high-powered offense overall. But how do you feel about the way the secondary played? Was that up to par? Did you feel like they being one of the top secondaries in college football? Did they show that for you in the championship game, or did you see something fall off?
I mean, I think there was a fall off. It wasn't up to the normal level, but I also think some of that is play calling as well. They stuck to man in an awful lot of opportunities, which let Howard be the last one that was open, and he would start to run, and then they'd have to come back and try to make a play, and he'd hit the open man. But I think it was more of a show of just how talented that wide receiver group is in Ohio State. For years now, Brian Hartline has done a great job with those wide receivers. Every single year, they're getting more and more wide receivers drafted. And I think, regardless of how great you are as a DB, it's tough to be able to cover skilled wide receivers without much of a pass rush for as long as Notre Dame tried to.
Yeah. I think that Herbert to watch out for his spot. His spot could be he might get overtaken. He might get he might lose his spot out here because his brother's aiming for it right now. This is funny.
Classic Rod going after Herb when he has the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is not the first time. I'm sure this has been going on for a hot minute for sure. And this is Roger's comment. My only problem with the first drive was I didn't think they could duplicate it for the whole game. Yeah, I mean, the 18-play drive, I'm not sure they did that the rest of the game. Gotta go and look at it. Maybe off the top of your head, but I'm not quite sure that happened at all since then. All the drives were shorter since then. So that was monumental in that regard. So I think Roger's right about their ability to duplicate it. I got a lot of questions about this because, and this is coming from a Michigan fan. This is not about the rivalry or anything like that, But there's been a lot of questions about whether the format works. It's just the best team in the country, and whether this format worked to their to the benefit of. And we'll talk about that as we get more into the recap and stuff. But one of the biggest things that just wasn't happening was that Notre Dame wasn't making stops on defense. And it's like you got a offense like Ohio State that's kind of, I mean, they had some rough spots in the middle part of their schedule, but since the game with us, they've been running roughshod over people. And it's like you have to know coming in that they're going to be hard charging. And I don't understand how, at least it looked, I won't say they weren't prepared, but it just looked as though they were overwhelmed by the offense when they should have been expecting it. What do you think about that? Did you see the same thing on the defensive side? Any kind of a lackadaisical play, or was it just lack of preparation, or was it just being outgunned and outmanned? What do you think it was?
I think a lot of it is outmanned and outgunned. I mean, the defensive line for Notre Dame has been hurt all year, and they were not capable of getting a pass rush. He had to start blitzing. He had to bring other people in, and that opens up more and more space for him. I mean, if you're Notre Dame, I don't think you're happy with the defensive performance in any way. But I also think that you were fighting an uphill battle the whole time on this.
Okay.
I thought that the offense had to do exactly like they did in the first drive. You had to eat up clock and keep their offense off the field if you had a real hope in this game. And they didn't do a great job of that. I thought they would have been better against the run than they were. Ohio State really was dominant up front when it needed to be.
Okay. I got to ask this after we say hello to one of our most faithful listeners. West Coast Win is in the house. Afternoon, ma'am. Thanks for joining us. Always great to hear from you. So I want to ask you this, man, just because this is not to incite anything, but I just want to just get some real life, real world feelings from you on this, being a faithful Notre Dame fan for as long as you have been. Is Notre Dame the second best team in the country?
I mean, I with the way the playoff was set up, I think they were in this case. But if you're going how you want to set the playoff, I don't think by any stretch of the imagination they were the second best team this year. I think, like you said, Ohio State really caught fire after the embarrassing loss to Michigan. They're especially offensively. They put it on Oregon, they put it on Tennessee, they put it on Notre Dame. I mean, they were ready to go offensively. Got really hot at the end of the year for them. And I don't think that Notre Dame's offense necessarily got better as the year went on. I think they kept up. I think they played well. They beat who they were put in against. They don't get to set that playoff set, but I don't think they were, I would rank them in the top 5. I think they definitely deserve to be in there. But if you're talking most talent or 9 times out of 10 victory, I think Ohio State and Oregon were the top 2 teams, when you look at records, you look at what they could do offensively and defensively.
Okay. So I kind of think about Oregon being the second best, perhaps. So where do you see Notre Dame being if you were going to go ahead and rank them like that? The playoff format is what it is. We got the result that I guess everybody wanted, I guess. Where do you see Notre Dame ranked based on that? If you see Ohio State is 1 and Oregon is 2, where's Notre Dame in your assessment?
Like I said, I think they could have an argument anywhere 3 through 5.
Okay.
Because like I said, I don't think if you match them against other teams that were in the playoffs, I think they still get a win. I mean, they arguably, Georgia was a tough team. I mean, they were without a quarterback, but that's still a Georgia team that's managed to win games before. They managed to beat Texas without a starting quarterback and made through with that. So I think within that 3 to 5 range, like I said, I don't think they're top 2. And as Raj said, I mean, man to man, I don't think they matched up against those upper teams. And I don't think it's a knock on recruiting from Freeman or anything like that. But, Oregon, you look at Ohio State, you look at Georgia. I mean, your third string guy is still a 4-star recruit. And Notre Dame has some great players. They've done really well offensive line wise the last couple of years to be able to produce some NFL pro talent. But, especially wide receiver, I think Notre Dame has some real moves to make to get some explosive weapons. I think having Love hurt throughout the playoffs, really curtailed how good that running game could have been for them. So, like I said, I don't put them in the top 2, but I think arguably easily within 3 to 5.
Okay. Yeah, historically, man, they always get good linemen that come out, especially O-line guys that come out to the NFL. But I'm hard pressed to remember wide receivers and, well, linebackers too, kind of. So it's O-line is kind of big when they've been there. It's been their bread and butter. Roger's saying, I don't think Notre Dame defense was bad, but they were playing against arguably the most talented team in the country, which is true, and the best group of wide receivers. The one thing I love about our fan base, our listeners, is that they're so knowledgeable. They kind of get what's going on and they're kind of hip to it. I want you guys to try to help us out with something here. I want to try to look it up while we're in this conversation. Find out for me if the amount of points that Notre Dame gave up in this game is consistent with what they've been doing all season, because their defense has been scored pretty high. I mean, ranked pretty high, their defense in college football. But it's just normal. Have they had games that they gave up more points throughout the course of the season? Kind of tell me how this game ranked against it. If you guys don't mind looking for us in the comment section, and we'll jump on some of these comments here. West Coast Win has a comment. Yes, definitely agree that Oregon is number 2, if not number 1. Okay. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think they're number 1. I want to hear that. That's pretty interesting. Notre Dame is top 5, but without a really dynamic wide receiver. I thought Jaden Greathouse was good, but I don't know if you consider him, but he's the best one on the team. I wasn't sure how you ranked him as a wide receiver, but I don't think that they're one of the 2 best. Having said that, they definitely deserve to be there. And as you said, they can only play the teams in front of them. They didn't pick the seeding. Absolutely. And Carissa, your question is going to be answered momentarily. We're going to go ahead and jump back into that one shortly. We're still in college football, but we're going to be answering that one very, very soon. And we are definitely ready for the conference championship game if you can't wait. So, but yeah, try to find out if anybody can. Where does where Notre Dame defense kind of ranks, because there's been a couple of games where they gave up almost 30 points. I remember a few of them. So I thought that was interesting that they gave up this many points in the championship game when their defense is so highly touted. I mean, on top of your head, Shane, do you remember where they were ranked at, their defense?
Especially passing defense, they were high.
Yeah.
Like you said, they had some games where they gave up more points, but they also had games where they were, even the loss to Northern Illinois, they managed to keep the score down, so it wasn't so much that. I find it interesting how fast Cincinnati grabbed Al Golden right up, so Freeman will have an opportunity to try to find another defensive coordinator.
That happened too.
I think Ben Morrison being hurt really hurt the pass defense side. There were a lot of injuries on Notre Dame side. That happens every year. You can't take that too far into consideration, but I think a healthy defense for them would have been able to eliminate some of that. I think a lot of it was just bad matchup problems. When you're bringing people in that haven't been asked to do those same things every single game up until then, and asking them to perform in the biggest stage. And I think there were some miscues, definitely. And it shows.
Yeah. What happened to the run game? We kind of had it expected that Jeremiah Love was going to kind of bring the heat in that area and put some pressure on the Ohio State run defense. They had, between him and I guess the other guy's Price, they had like 42 yards on 16 carries, or 16 together. And I think 42 yards and 16 carries, I think it was. So Ohio State kind of took away what they do best, I guess. But what happened there, man? Was it just the Ohio State's run defense was that good, or did something else go on that, because I've seen games like this where teams that are known to do something well in championship game. We've seen it to some degree in some recent college championships, and then I see it in the NFL with the Ravens last year. We talk about it all the time on the show, where they get away from what they do well. Is that what this situation is, or did something else happen that you think you can identify?
Well, I mean, in the first playoff game, Love was like flu sick. And then throughout the playoffs, he also has a knee injury he's working through. And I think it took a lot of his dynamic ability away. He still had runs in other games where he, showed some of that talent. But I think he was beat up towards the end of the year. Again, just like we're talking, when you're Ohio State and your backup was Ole Miss's #1 running back the year before, it's easier to plug and play with Judkins and get him in and get some more runs. I also think that the other thing is, once you're already down 21 points, if you're Notre Dame, how much are we going to keep attacking the run game when I need to score touchdowns? So I think that also plays into it. And Ohio State's offense really helped to keep Notre Dame's offense off the field as well.
Yeah, most definitely. I guess the biggest controversy we could talk about is the decision by Freeman down 16 points. You got in the fourth quarter, and you go for a field goal as opposed to trying to score and cut it, to, I guess, in that case, if you got the field goal, it'd probably be be down by 9 points if you got the touchdown. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you feel about his decision to go for the field goal as opposed to trying to go for a touchdown and get them within 9?
I mean, for me, you fall in that tough zone where, statistically you're going to look at that and you're going to go, well, if we score the touchdown, we still have to go for, a touchdown and an extra point and everything else on the thing. Me, from an offensive play calling standpoint, I would have gone for the touchdown just because it would have showed what our offense could do. Not necessarily saying that's the statistical play that you want to make in that game, but their offense has not been, I don't want to say risk adverse, but they haven't gone out on a limb an awful lot. Like, yes, on that first drive, they got fourth down completions, but they weren't risking it the entire year. It was an offense that was predicated on making the smart play, get the points, get the defense back on the field.
Not aggressive then, okay. All right, Herb, good to see you, brother. We're talking national championship here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here to rescue Shane because you're giving it to him over here, man. You're just making it tough on this guy.
I don't know how. He's a Notre Dame guy, and here I want to give him a chance to jump in and share his heart. He's doing that in no short order. He's doing a fantastic job. How do you feel about the play by or call by Freeman to go for the field goal as opposed to the touchdown? Gets them within 9.
I think they had to go for the touchdown, but I also think the play calling kind of failed them before that. I think once you get to the 9, you say, hey, we're going for a touchdown no matter what. So first play is a run, doesn't get you much, but your run has been the stronger part of your game. I'm running again. I realized on the third down play, they tried like a little quick slant that didn't go, but that hadn't really been available the whole game anyway, and the field was shrunk there. I probably would have run it the first 2 downs and see what I get first, and then approach the 3rd and 4th down. Like if I'm still at like the 5, okay, I get another short play, and I say, look, we got 2 plays to get 5 yards. That's how I would have done it. But I think the problem was they didn't move from the 9, and they're like, well, our chances of scoring from here are terrible, so we want to get some points off of this turnover. But they were in that mid, and then they're like, all right, rush out there and hurry up and kick the field goal. And you don't want to use your timeout because you're thinking, okay, we're down 2 scores. We're going to need those timeouts later in the game. So I think they kind of failed on 1st and 2nd down, and really 3rd down and 4th down was just kind of out there.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. All right, this question is not nitpicking, but I'm thinking about the NFL draft because at this point, that's kind of where my mind is now. I'm thinking about mock drafts. I'm kind of doing starting my evaluation process. It starts in February, but I'm inching up towards. I'm starting to think about it at least. We talked about the Notre Dame secondary. They were how they're coming into this game, and they kind of they had some struggles out here during the championship game. So, question: is Will Howard just that good because his numbers were stellar against the secondary, or was the highly touted Notre Dame secondary not as good as advertised? How would you choose between the two of those? Is Will Howard just that good?
Neither. I'll let Shane answer, but neither is my answer.
Fair enough, Shane.
I would agree with Herb on this because I think out of that secondary, like I mentioned, with Ben Morrison hurt, he's gonna be a 1st-round draft pick, I believe. Coming back from an injury. But other than that, Xavier Watts is the only draft even thought about player on that secondary. They mixed and matched a lot of people. They played well, but I mean, I don't think Will Howard is going to be anything beyond a 3rd-string clipboard team guy quarterback in the NFL. So I don't think that he's going to be your push. I think as much as Ohio State fans don't want to talk about it, I think Kyle McCord, who went to Syracuse after his seasons with Ohio State, I think he's going to get drafted above Will Howard. Yeah, I like I said, I agree with Herb in that I don't think either of those dynamic things are true. It's not Will Howard isn't great, and Notre Dame's defensive backfield is not outstanding in that way either. It's one of those ones where you can look great statistically, but still not be that talented. You just played the way you were supposed to, and your run game held teams to have to pass and try to make other plays where that showed up on your defensive statistics.
Fair enough. All right, just to recap on our poll question to keep it fresh in everybody's mind. What's the biggest reach in the NFL mock draft so far? I got a few ideas. I'm sure you guys have some. We'll jump into that momentarily. What's the biggest reach in the NFL mock draft so far? A lot of names kind of jump out to me right now. We're talking about Will Howard, but he's not one of them. Mel Kiper has him in the 4th round, I guess, as the 6th best quarterback. I guess that makes sense. Some NFL experts remember their name, but I don't think their names are important in this. They actually believe that because of this game, it should be higher. I don't think I'm there. I remember where he came from, basically a cast off from Kansas State. The guy that was there was kind of the star, so to speak, and he really wasn't needed, so that's why he came to Ohio State. So I don't think he's a game changer day one to change a franchise. I don't see that. He had a good game in the national championship. I can't deny that part, but I'm not ready to say, oh man, this guy's a game changer. Better get him on your team real fast. I don't really see that. But all right, so I'm sure you guys have been hearing over and over again about the college playoff format and how that impacts things. I think we already talked about it early on in the show that we think Ohio State was likely the best team. West Coast Win kind of felt like Oregon has a claim to that. Here's a comment, that Oregon could easily have been number one as well. We don't have any dispute about that here, right? That Ohio State was the best team in the country. No dispute here, right?
Yeah.
In regards to that,
they were favored to start the year. You have 2 hiccups, but that's where the expanded playoff does kind of help you even out. There's no real reason why a team should have to be perfect for a whole year to prove that. And to answer the other part of that, if I'm Oregon, I want a best of 3. Like we've split the first 2. I want one more shot at this whole thing.
If only, right? If only they could do that. That'd be entertaining for us because that was a marquee game for me this season. It was on my calendar, like I'm watching this game. So best 2 out of 3, that'd have been pretty awesome. Yeah, so I know traditionalists are saying a lot of stuff about, the goal is to find the best team in the country. I don't have a problem with that mindset and that teams should earn their way into the biggest game of the year. I don't have a problem with that one either. They had a lot of problems with this. Well, they had some problems with this format. I think overall, you got what you wanted to get, I guess. But then you have teams like Boise State and Arizona State that, under a different scenario, they'd be playing each other, and Texas and PSU will have a bye in the first round. So I don't really know if they're going to be able to solve. If they're going to address that, but they're probably going to be thinking about it. They had the game because of the extended formats going up against the presidential inauguration, so you probably lost some viewers there, perhaps. And then it was going right into the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, so you probably lost some eyes on the product then. So, and January the 1st is New Year's Day. That's probably the marquee day of the year, outside of a rivalry week where college football is taking place, and people are like tuning to see all the games you can think of on January 1st. With this new idea now that may potentially change, so they got to try to figure out how to make that work too. So there's a lot for them to be working on, making sure the best teams at the top when all is said and done, making sure you kind of balance the time-honored traditions of college football and not mess with what's been working for decades, I guess, and then making sure you got eyes on the product. And you guys have, I know I asked you guys last week, but you guys have no problem with the format as is right now, right? You think this works the way it is? I know they're talking about going to 16 games. I'm not really in agreement with that. But right now, where it is with 12, this has been working for you guys or no?
I would have capped it at 8, and I would have moved the national championship game off of Monday. So for both of those, not even just because they moved into inaugural, I thought that well before this. I remember having a chance to go to a national championship game and thinking like all the stuff you have to book and all the work, and like all of us aren't, some of us work for ourselves where you miss days, you miss a lot of money, and trying to, and it's especially considering that, you don't necessarily know if your team's going to be in it until the week before. And now you're all of a sudden trying to schedule a travel on a Sunday, maybe book a hotel, travel on a Monday or whatever, come back on a Tuesday, or like who's trying to travel at midnight on a Monday night, to get back for stuff. So I don't agree with that. And I would have capped it at 8. Then with 8, you get the same result that you just had right there, which just kind of lose the fluff of the first round.
Okay. So off the top of my head, how would 8 affect the buys and the teams that be on buys? Would that affect that?
I don't even care about the buys anymore. Every team that had a buy lost, so I don't even know if they can argue for that anymore. I'm sorry, I think I cut across Shane. Yeah.
No, I agree with what you're saying, Herb. The other thing, I think the NCAA sometimes tries to get too cute, and they play against the NFL on these type of things. Like the Super Bowl, regardless of what's happened, they're going to play that on a Sunday. Like that's when it's going to be, and college football, regardless of if you're into Maction and you want to catch games on a Tuesday, Ohio University versus Buffalo at 9:00 at night with 17 people in the stands, you can do that. But college football is Saturday, and I've always thought that they should play that, and I think that draws eyes to the crowd and brings people to that game. The problem is that the NFL, once college football gets into this bowl week, the NFL goes, cool, Saturdays are ours too. So we're going to play divisional playoff games on Saturdays. We're going to play them on Sunday. We're going to play them on Monday. And will dominate television. You know, and it does every year. NFL playoff games are going to control television sports regardless of what they go against. It doesn't matter who's playing, what other sport is going on. It's always going to be the NFL. It's the huge money maker in the U.S. It's always going to be the pull.
Got that right, man. Always.
Well said. Well said.
Absolutely. All right, so before we get into Carissa's questions, I want to get into that momentarily here. But any initial thoughts now that we have closed out the college football season and we've been talking about the draft? That's our poll question, which of course I'll go ahead and drop that back in for everybody to see it, for those that haven't caught it just yet. So what are your, I know we're hearing rumors and speculation, and that's what the draft is all about. But what would you say are your primary thoughts about the draft, knowing what you know right now, who's already declared, where people are kind of theoretically placing them in the first round? Overall thoughts: strong draft, weak draft. Some people are reaching, or some people who are kind of better than they are being considered and should be higher. Just overall thoughts about the draft overall. And of course, we're going to touch on the poll question. By all means, please do. Herbie, Shane, who's first?
I think this year's draft is a weak draft. I think if you're a fourth round through sixth round quarterback, you should be real happy, because there's really two quarterbacks that are going to get a ton of publicity, and maybe they shouldn't even be top 10 picks, but teams are going to reach for them. So there's going to be one of these quarterbacks that in a normal year would be lucky to get picked on the second day that's going to get a first round pick, because teams need quarterbacks. I think that's where you're talking about, like, some of these biggest reaches in the mock draft. I think that's going to be where people fall. Quarterback is going to be a dime a dozen on that, where they're going to look and try to get people to move up. I think you can already see it with Tennessee saying, like, if we find a generational talent, we draft them regardless of positional needs. That's coach speak for going, no, we're going to look at a quarterback regardless of who we have and what we need to make moves on. I think teams that have first round picks that are willing to make moves this year, I think that's going to help them. You know, as a Patriots fan, I think if you don't have a choice that knocks you out at the fourth pick, I think this is a year where you can make some moves and drop back and still get guys that you want and build your team that way.
All right. Excellent point. Herb?
Yeah, no, I agree. Quarterback is like the hot topic here, but you've got two guys who are very polarizing, for different reasons on both. And it's like you said, man, it just creates a domino effect for the rest of it. I think if I'm one of those top teams and I'm not 100% sold, this is a great year to target one of those desperate guys and maybe move back and collect some other pieces and maybe wait the quarterback spot out a year. And if I'm one of those other teams that are farther down, or one of those guys that's trading out, I do a lot of homework on, like, the Quinn Ewers of the world, even Dalen Milroe. We've already made my thoughts clear on him. I do a lot of work on guys like that, Dart from Mississippi, and I try to think, hey, if I pick up one of these third or in the fourth round, like, I know it's a funny name to throw out, but do they turn into my Dak? Where, hey, he's well outplayed his draft position, no matter what we think of him as a playoff person, he's outplayed his draft position. And my other question about this is going to turn into last year, where there's a huge run on offensive players, or is it going to shift a little bit more towards defense and trying to slow down? So that's kind of what I want to see.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be the first thing.
Yeah,
that's how it looks right now, anyway. Just the offensive side. I mean,
I don't think you're talking about as dynamic of players. You know what I mean? Like, on that side, like, you're not talking about the same wide receivers and the same, like, quarterbacks. And so, you know what I mean? Like you were last year. Sorry, I apologize. I know I cut across you there.
No, you're good. You're good. I like McMillan from Arizona. I think he's fantastic. But matter of fact, I don't think I've ever heard his name discussed in anything I've heard so far. All I'm hearing about is Sanders and Ward and Hunter, and that's pretty much it. I'm not hearing about Mason Graham, go blue, by the way. I'm not hearing about McMillan, who I think is probably arguably the best wide receiver in the draft. I mean, deep ball threat. He can change the game in the snap of a finger. I mean, I feel like he is. I mean, if you want to call Hunter the best wide receiver, I won't argue with you about that. Whatever. I know he's a two-way guy, and I don't think of him as a pure wide receiver. I think about him doing other stuff. But McMillan, that's a name that should be out there a lot more. And for some strange reason, he's not even being mentioned. So I'm like, this guy is he's still in the top 5, top 6, but I kind of feel like he's a lot better than that. But with the whole run on quarterback, which seems like that's what seems to be happening right now, it's going to be a lot of that. I think Shane said it's about if you're a 4th or 6th round guy. I mean, just imagine if one of these teams reach for these guys a lot sooner. I think I said it on last week's show, I think I did, or the week before, that if the Giants got Dart, I mean, I think it'd be a good thing, but I wouldn't dare elevate him to the 1st round. I don't think I ever said that part. I would say if we get him, that'd be good. But if we got him in the 2nd round, I don't think I'm going to cry about it. You know what I'm saying? But not in the 1st round. I never foresaw that for him. So it's all about how these teams perceive these guys and really how desperate they are. Some of these guys are fighting for their jobs. So they're going to do crazy stuff and they're going to go all in, playing with the house money quite literally. And they're going to go for it all, and they're going to just do whatever, no matter how crazy it looks. I mean, look what happened last year. Wasn't there a reach or two in the draft last year? People are like, wow, can't believe they did that. we say that every year, so it's not really a surprise. When Baker came out, I mean, I was in a wing spot when Baker got drafted, and that whole place, it was so loud and noisy, that place went to a hush. I could hear a rat poop in that place. When he was on the board and he got picked. It was quiet. Nobody expected him to be a 1st round pick, and nobody seemed to be happy about it either. So every year there's somebody that's reaching. So I'm just kind of surprised that McMillan's a guy that's not getting more love. But is there another reaches in the NFL mock draft that you think? I mean, maybe Sanders is a reach for you guys. I mean, who do you think is a reach in this draft so far? Any names that kind of come to mind? If not, we'll keep moving to NFL. But I just want to get you guys a chance to think about it. Any thoughts?
I mean, for me, I don't think either of the top 2 quarterbacks are really top 10 picks. I don't think Cam Ward and I don't think Sherrod Sanders is a top. I don't think either guy's top 10.
So where are they going if they're winning top 10?
No, they're going. He's saying they're going.
Yeah, they're going. There's no doubt they'll be drafted in the top 5. But if I'm going out there and listing talent, I don't think those guys are in that top 1. You've mentioned 2 people that really jump out at me, Yusuf, though. I mean, Mason Graham, if I'm looking to get a strong interior defensive lineman, I mentioned him on Ben's show on Tuesday night, where if I was the Cowboys, they picked Mozzie Smith last year. If he sticks around and you can make a move there, I think Graham would be a good pick for them. I know you hate that, but I get it. And then I think McMillan, like you said, he's a big-bodied wide receiver, doesn't have a lot of drops, super strong hands. I think if you have a young quarterback and you're trying to get him a weapon, I think he's a great pick.
That's your guy. Yep.
Anybody else for you, Herb, that jumps out?
No, I hate to say it, but it's really a quarterback-driven thing and where those guys fit in. And then, not that I feel like Travis Hunter is overrated, but how are people treating him once they get drafted? Like, if I'm him, I don't want to keep playing both ways. And he's going to be dynamic on either side of the ball for you to justify where you're picking him at. Or are you picking him trying to say, yeah, you're going to play both ways, and then where does that end up? So I just don't think it's the same as kind of like when Deion was playing and you could kind of get away with that both ways. I think it's a lot more physical, and let's be honest, the money is a lot more now too as well, to where you're like, what's going to give me the longer career? And playing both sides of the ball in the NFL is just not going to be it to me.
I think last week you said playing cornerback, right? That would be the best route for him.
Depends on which team drafts him, but corner, I don't know. I feel like he could make more as a wide receiver, but those are both high-profile positions. If I was going to choose, I'd rather play wide receiver. I just feel like there's too many rules against cornerbacks at this point. I mean, it's almost like which guy can get away with holding the most as a corner is one of the few ways, how can I get hands, and that's not corners. I just feel like the rules are stacked against them, and your life as a wide receiver is just going to be a lot longer.
Okay.
Let's play a little. I think the only thing that hurts him there, though, is like his size and his play talent is a slot receiver, and it's hard to get that as an early draft pick. Right. You know, he's not the same speed as a Tyreek Hill. He's not going to be a straight burner. He has great moves. They did a great job of getting him the ball, but not extremely tall, very light, not a burner. You know, that hurts you as a wide receiver. His measurables as a corner, I think, show better. But like you said, Herb, I mean, now in the NFL, I don't legitimately know how you play corner legally.
No.
Against any of these guys.
Yeah.
It's set against you. I think on any play you could, especially in the playoffs, the way it looks, you could call pass interference on pretty much everything. So how do you match up against these guys? Yeah. How are you 6 feet and you're going against a 6'5" guy that also runs 4.4, can jump through the roof, and they let him push off, and you touch him and you get a flag. You know, it's tough. We watched it in college football where, like, the pass interference, if you're a DB in college, I would mug a guy every play because all we're going to do is just move it up and we're going to be okay. In the NFL, the second you touch somebody, you've basically given up. Yeah. So that's going to be a touchdown already, or you're going to give them the ball on the 2. So
so let's play against you at that position. Go ahead, man. It's just sir.
Good. Let's play a little game. I'm not sure where Hunter's going to go. We can only guess. But I'm gonna give you the first 4 teams on the board. I think it's the first 4 teams on the board. Now, just put it out there. I think wide receiver is his best move in the NFL. I know he's thinking about the dollar. I think that might be his best move in regards to that. But if Cleveland picks Hunter, is he going wide receiver or cornerback? Who's going first?
Off the jump, you would think wide receiver just because their defense has been touted. And like if Jerry Jeudy continues to play the way he will, having, you know, if like Shane's saying, if he fits better in the slot, maybe that's another spot where you don't have to jump in and be the number 1, but you can still clearly get the numbers. My fear for him is he's got no quarterback. So I don't, you know, him and Jerry Jeudy might just be out there hugging each other and like playing spades or so. I don't know. But that's my first thought without kind of looking at the roster.
Wide receiver or cornerback, Shane, for Cleveland?
For Cleveland, I think it's kind of like how Herb said. I would lean towards offense because I think that's where they have a greater need. But if you're Cleveland, if you go, okay, I've already got a great pass rush, I already have a pretty good defense. Can we mix him in with our defense and then make them, you know, elite, upper echelon?
Especially if we're not going to score.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, when I look at Hunter and you look at Cleveland. Do you make a move like Philly did, where you pick a number 1 corner and then you pick, you know, a second-round corner / safety, play him in the nickel, and then now you have an outstanding pass defense.
Right.
Like Hunter, I think if you want to play him some plays on offense, that nickel corner spot is where you can get more out of him because I can let him play in passing downs. I don't have to have him out there covering number 1s all the time. He can make some dynamic plays where he jumps in and gets those. I can still play him on special teams, although that world of special teams has changed. And I can still get him run on offense because I'm not going to ask him to play 100 plays of defense.
Yep. Copy that. All right, we got 3 more real quick. All right. Titans are going first. They're probably not going to pick Hunter. I don't know what they're doing because with quarterback, not sure if they are sold on Levis or not. I'm not sure. But let's just say, theoretically, Tennessee Titans pick Hunter. Wide receiver or cornerback for them?
Corner for me.
Really?
You too, Herb?
No, I'll say wide receiver just because I thought their defense was pretty good last year, or at least statistically at times. It's kind of, I listened to some Titans podcasts and they were like, these are false numbers. But without kind of looking at it, I'm going to go wide receiver again.
Yeah, I would. I mean, like, statistically, I would agree with you on offense, but I don't think they have an offense. If I put him over there on offense, I'm wasting him.
Yeah. Again, he'll go and grab another former Bama wide receiver. Him and Calvin Ridley will go out and they'll be playing cards in the middle of the field with nobody throwing the ball.
He's gonna get real good at spades. There's no doubt about it. He's gonna have to buy a quarterback somewhere in the second round. But
yes, it's almost like you just picked 2 of the most similar situations. You know.
Yeah,
the two separate teams. Yeah.
So the pass, I can't see the pass doing this because unless Abdul makes a big jump, as in Abdul Carter from Penn State. But
Right.
Pats, wide receiver or cornerback?
Wide receiver. They have nobody to throw to right now, as is. Drake May could throw to himself and be the number one wide receiver. So we're going
number one cornerback is a third, but he's hurt the past 2 years or so. I think it was maybe 3 years, but the past 2 years for sure in Gonzalez. So I'm like, I don't know that's going to work. Okay, last one. My Giants.
I feel like we should be asking you.
Yeah.
I'm sure, man. I want to hear from all you guys first, though.
I mean, they got Neighbors, so they have a number one. So I'm assuming if you draft him that high and you don't want to make him your number two, you put him in at corner. But again, that's without knowing your kind of defensive personnel.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they have to be a president for that. Yeah. Have a 1A, 1B. I mean, I'm sure it's not the first time it's ever happened before, but nothing comes to mind right now. But
yeah, and like without knowing what your quarterback situation is, I don't want to draft a 1A and 1B wide receiver, I guess, and say, hey, we're gonna slot the quarterback decision till next year. So my initial thought is corner, but I mean, you've got probably a year to play around with it if you're drafting him that high.
Because right now, I guess the second guy would be Wandale. And I'm not sure. I mean, I like him, but I don't know if they see him as a wide receiver 2 on this team. I think maybe he might be that out of necessity because other people haven't stepped up or they are about to get booted out. So,
but honestly, between him and then Tracy as your running back, I feel like you're kind of set on that side of the ball initially. Like, obviously, you want to fill in some stuff. But I'm thinking like we've got to address quarterback, and then like I said, that's why I would push Hunter more defense than thinking offense.
Okay, no, that's totally fair.
I think this question and these 4 teams that are in the top of the draft show you how weak the draft is. There's nobody that can change any of those 4 teams by them being the automatic pick. Like Herb said, each of these 4, if you play him offensively, there's no quarterback for him to play with. If you play him defensively, can he help their defense? Yes. Does he change the defense to the point to where now you're winning 10 games? No. Right. That's the problem as a DB. Even if look at Dallas's defense, you can intercept the ball at an astronomical number. And if your offense is terrible, you don't do anything with those turnovers. So that's the balance you have to play in the NFL these days. And that's why I said I think Hunter's going to be a talented player. I think he'll have a good career in the NFL, regardless of where you play him on the side of the ball. But I think defensively, you put him out there because that's where he can affect me more than anything else, because he can go get the ball. Without a quarterback on offense, I mean, look at all the guys that move around. A.J. Brown goes to Philadelphia. Wide receivers beg themselves off of teams all the time because if you have a quarterback – you can run the perfect route, and that guy underthrows the ball, and the ball's going back the other way. You've just wasted all the work you put in as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, look
at
somebody like
book
Megatron.
On the sideline.
You play all these years in Detroit. You can't get a victory. Matthew Stafford throws you the ball at times. Matthew Stafford goes to L.A., does the same thing. Like, bam, now he gets the championship.
Yeah.
You can be a great wide receiver, and without a talented quarterback, you never get a chance to show your abilities.
Yeah. There's a reason why so many wide receivers are divas is because you need more attention to make things work. Running back, you're going to get a plenty of carries. Quarterback, you touch the ball every single time. Tight end, maybe you get known for blocking instead of receiving, you're fine. But wide receiver, you're like, look, if you don't throw me the ball, I'm just going to have to make up more touchdown dances for the one time I get it, or I'm going to cause a fuss, or like I said, I'm going to read a book on the side. Whatever it does to get some attention on me is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful for my friends out here trying to keep me off the ledge because I'm sitting here like some of these guys, they can change what's going on with the Giants. Will they propel us into the playoffs? I'm not saying all that, but I've watched almost every single game. And I watched what's going on with the quarterback spot and how that position has affected their ability to win that game, especially the one that was so close. They weren't many blowouts whatsoever. and most of it was because of quarterback play or really bad inept quarterback play. Yep. So I feel like a quarterback that's halfway decent puts us in a different picture. We're not talking about 3 wins. We're talking about 8 or 9, maybe more than that. It depends because we're talking about Lock and DeVito for the most part, and Daniel Jones, who had struggles that were of epic proportions. I'm talking about that's 5, 6, 7 games that we would have been more competitive in just with a quarterback. And then you're talking about the guys like a McMillan, because we haven't had size at wide receiver for quite a long time. So there's just we'll see what happens. But this some guy that could help us out significantly. Okay, so Carissa's question. Good evening, gentlemen. Are you ready for NFL conference championship games? All right, well, we most definitely are. Probably got about 15 minutes or less to talk about it. So I guess we go ahead and hit it hard and fast. And thanks, Carissa, for your question. Always great questions from you. Definitely appreciate you listening to us. All right, we can start off with Commanders and the Eagles. Anybody shocked the Commanders are in this game to start with? Anybody? I thought I picked the Commanders last week, but I think I picked against the Eagles. I think I picked the Rams. Anybody shocked that the Commanders are here?
I'll say this: the only one that was gonna shock me, is if the Texans won. The rest of them were kind of mild surprises. I'll say that. So Washington is just playing with house money, right? They're not expected to be here. They probably ran into a perfect storm of Detroit does have a lot of injuries on defense, but Goff was also not up to par in this playoff too, right? So, and that, I'm not saying that to take anything away from the Commanders. They played great. Daniels has been excellent, earned their spot in here, but they definitely punched him in the mouth. And because you can't even say, Goff missed the series, right? And they scored a touchdown on that series. So it's you can't even blame anything else going on, but they really just took it to Detroit and they've earned their way in here. So I'm surprised, thinking at the beginning of the year, thinking being the playoffs are there, but they've earned their way in and they're entertaining to watch. So I see it.
And Daniels is on the verge of breaking several rookie records.
Yeah.
A lot. He's already the 6th rookie to start in the conference championship game and doing that without a top 3 scoring defense. The Commanders defense is ranked 18, excuse me. So multiple playoff games, potentially. First rookie, 100+ passer rating. He's definitely in the offensive rookie of the year conversation. A lot of history potentially being made by him. From the stats I saw, he had to win one more game and score 2 passing touchdowns, and he would have broke a rookie record. Most by a rookie quarterback in history, including the playoffs. Pretty exciting stuff. Shane, are you shocked by the Commanders in here, or just I knew it was going to happen?
Well, I mean, I still picked Detroit, but like I said, this whole year I've been on the Commanders bandwagon. I just thought, if Detroit plays their game, they're going to come away with a victory. As Herb said, Goff has a terrible game, 4 turnovers, and Washington took the opportunities when they had them. The other thing, and I think Washington more than any other team in the playoffs has bought into this, is like Herb said, they're playing with house money. Yeah. And Washington is attacking like that. They're going for it on 4th down. They're going to be demonstrative in their offense. They're letting Daniels pull the trigger, and he's done a great job. This is exactly what we're talking about, though, when you pick a dynamic quarterback. Yep. He took a Washington team that no one was worried about, and then now he's got them in a championship game.
Yep.
Okay.
There's no quarterback.
Did you know that was going to happen?
Daniels?
We talked about this. Yeah. Did you know about we talked about the pre-draft, and we were talking about how he had a slight build. We were concerned about him taking hits. I mean, we talked about that stuff ad nauseum leading to the draft. Did you see this?
I wanted him over May. I wanted him or JJ over May.
I remember that, but did you see this coming? What we're seeing right now? Because I did not.
Yeah,
I thought he'd be confident.
I didn't think that Washington's offense was going to be this good. I thought he would play well. But other than Terry McLaurin, I didn't think that they had an offense that could really get up and go. I think Austin Eckler has helped them. I think Daniels has done a great job of seeing the defense. I think for as much as people went against him when he was the head coach at Arizona, I think your offensive coordinator has called some great games this year.
Yes. For every point that he just – so I'm more biased because he was an SEC guy, so I saw him more. So did I think he would be good? Yes. That was no like disrespect to the other guys, but I'm like, this is the guy I've watched most Saturdays. But it's like you just said, the pairings were all great, man. I think B-Rob was underrated running back wise. What's the old Kansas City guy? He never wanted to run the ball much, so you didn't really see as much out of the running game. And Scary Terry, like, you got to feel good for that guy. You got to feel like he's been rescued. You know, he's like, look, I've had this talent the whole time, just nobody was getting me the ball. And then Cliff Kingsbury, we've talked about it a lot here. One of my biggest points: some guys are better as coordinators than head coaches, and there's no shame in that. And I think they got him in there, and they said, just make the offense good, and we'll worry about the rest. And he said, okay. And that's what happened here. So,
all right, I want to get into more back, but we don't have time. We up against. I mean, wonder if the Eagles' pass game going to show up. I mean, Jalen Hurts got injured last week. Wondering whether he's going to have a pass game. He's going to try to run with a bad knee, and then you got this Commanders run defense that's been like almost like a sieve. I think they ranked 30th, if I'm not mistaken, and they're going against Saquon. Lord help them.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen here, but I can't leave this show and not talk about Detroit. I want to just spend. Can we just spend like 2 minutes on that without going too deep? Didn't we see this? I didn't pick them in no poll that anybody asked me because I just didn't see it. I said this team always finds a way to make this part happen. I know they had guys on defense that was out. I think they came back for that game, if I'm not mistaken. McNeil and some other guys came back. So, and look what happened. They got into a game that really, really mattered. Quick thoughts, man. Rapid fire, man. Did you not see this coming?
You just signed Goff to an extension. Is Goff your guy still? Like, that's, you can't have that. You can't have the weapons they have on offense. And I know, you put up 31, but that's it. And honestly, as far as the defense, you give up a pick six, but that little screen pass, little blocking to McLaurin that goes the whole way, that's inexcusable on defense too as well. So those are my two.
I'm gonna answer this real quick. The answer is yes to that. The answer is yes to your question. As they're currently constructed, they got a strong team. I don't know what's gonna happen with the coordinators being out and who's gonna come in. That could be continuity or it could be a total overhaul of mindset. I can't tell you until the guy comes in or the guys come in. But as constructed right now, this team is still strong.
Yeah, I
think Dan Campbell can keep moving. Now, I don't know whether they go further than where they are right now. I think last year they did a lot more than they did this year. So you kind of went back a little bit. But I think Campbell can keep them going in the right direction. But to answer your question, I think it's yes. I guess Goff is the guy. I would dread to have to go into the draft right now to get somebody. So
you're not going to.
he's competent enough. I mean, there's some things that the Rams didn't let him go for no reason. Separate topic. We don't have time to touch that one. But Shane, what's your thoughts there, man? About the Lions.
Yeah,
real quick. Rapid fire, man.
I mean, like you said, the turnovers is the big thing. I think, like Herb said, the defense did not play well. They had the injuries, but you can't turn the ball over 4 times in a game and expect to get the victory. Like that's just inexcusable. And unfortunately for Goff, 9 times out of 10 when the game gets big, he has some rough games.
Yeah. Will they get 2 points in the Super Bowl? I mean, it's just it's looking ugly.
The other thing for them is, you look at their division, who's getting worse? Chicago, you got an offensive coordinator who's now your head coach that propelled an offense in Detroit. Minnesota has to make a decision on a quarterback, but chances are both of their quarterback possibilities are better than yours. Green Bay is in that run. I mean, if you're Detroit, you have to replace 2 coordinators. I have to get back an entire defense, and I have to figure out what we're doing. That's a tough division to be in to have to figure out all those question marks.
Yep.
No question. All right, Bills and Chiefs real quick, and then we'll go ahead and close the show out. All right, so this is the biggest pivot, well, not pivot, but the biggest focus you'll hear about all over television is Week 11 when they last played. The Bills had one little hiccup, I think, with a sack of Allen, but for the most part, they played zone the entire time. They're a zone-heavy team. They played zone, and they kind of stymied the Chiefs for the majority of that game. so they probably wouldn't come out here with the same game plan. I doubt McDermott's going to change that part of it. But how you guys feeling about the Bills and Chiefs? I know that they have potential to make history, and some people are happy about that. I'm not. I don't want to see a three-peat from them. So I just don't. Call it haterade, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it.
I'm with you. I'm with you. We're drinking the same haterade, so we're good. Yeah. We can share a cup.
This is just me now. I go back to the team nickname before I even had my designs on the Giants about purple people eaters and orange crush. I come from that era. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I think that the NFL is better when teams that never won before actually get a chance to win. So gather the Bills and the Lions. That's what I wanted to see happen because they never had a chance to do it before. If they did, they weren't successful in doing so. So for that reason, I feel like I can't see how it's better for the NFL for the Chiefs to win three-peat. Then you got all this stuff like, okay, you know who is the silver bullet. She's at the game. We're gonna win, or the refs doing this or not doing this. I don't want that stuff in the Super Bowl champion. It's messy. It's ugly. I don't want no parts of that. I'd rather have a team that hasn't been there before to actually win. And the Bills kind of represented that. I guess in some ways the Commanders represent that as well. So that's kind of the two teams I would want to see play it out. However, you got Bills, you got Chiefs.
I'm still going Chiefs. I think if you're the Bills,
you jerk. Shane, we were so cool.
Like the Chiefs, but if you're asking me who's going to win, it's going to be the Chiefs. If you're the Bills, you look at that game against the Ravens, you got extremely lucky with a Lamar Jackson fumble after a bad snap. The interception he threw right to the defensive back. Mark Andrews has the worst game he's had as a tight end.
I feel for him, by the way.
Yeah. And everything that went wrong went well for the Bills. So everything goes your way. You're going to face a Kansas City team that's better defensively, that's going to go after the quarterback. You have to face them in Kansas City. As much as, like you said, you don't want to talk about the dirty stuff, but everyone's going to say the league wants Kansas City to do it. The refs are in Mahomes' pocket. You know, it is the number one star and Travis Kelce going to be there to watch? All this other stuff that's going to play in, that all plays into Kansas City's mind. It's all things they're used to. They're prepared for it. I still think the Bills, regardless of how their run game has showed up, it's Josh Allen and pray. And it's real hard when that's your offensive game plan week after week.
All right, now wait a minute now. Casey's run game ain't looking that great neither, man. I love me some.
No, but Kansas City doesn't need a run game. They've proven that. They've proven that in the last two Super Bowls. Yeah. We'll get you there. We'll get the points. We'll come away with some good defensive stops, and we'll win when we need to.
Yeah, the Bills made Mahomes throw, and that's how they beat them last time they played them. Why they can't do that again?
Because by the way, I'm rooting for the Bills and picking the Bills, but the Bills always beat them in the regular season, and whatever happens, like the playoffs, that's their kryptonite. So you can't argue history. You're a numbers guy. You can't argue history, right?
I guess we're gonna move on because this is y'all. Oh man.
I think you missed the part where I said I'm picking Buffalo and I'm rooting for Buffalo.
And then you just
I'm just telling you what the facts are.
Okay. I hate it. I don't want them to win.
I don't either. I will be emotional about this.
I know for the franchise, it's monumental, it's historic, but God almighty, I don't want any of that. Why? Why am I like this? I don't want this. And I don't want the Eagles to do it. I want them to win it. Give me a team that I can live with them winning the Super Bowl, because it's not the Eagles either. I can't take that either. I never hit into that.
Saquon's going to rush for another 200 yards this week, and they're going to keep playing the hard knocks where Mara says, I just don't want to let Saquon Barkley go someplace else and watch him beat us every year. And they're going to beat that drum with the Giants.
Can anybody help us? Is there anything that can be done for us?
Maybe not this year. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
The future doesn't look that bad, though, to be honest.
They could have paid for an offensive line when they had the opportunity.
I could say that going back 3 or 4 years, man. That's not.
I completely agree with you.
There's a certain gentleman that played for the Rams that he was up for grabs, and I don't think he had no problem playing for the Giants. We need to make him an offer. God. He made the man an offer.
I mean, you look at Saquon right now, he's running behind just bricks of granite right now, a huge offensive line. And when it comes down to these type of games, Philadelphia is not going to – if Philadelphia gets cute, that's on Kellen Moore. But if I'm Kellen Moore, I literally just look at the close to 6'6", 325 across the board and go, guys, we are going to run 42 times.
Yep.
And we're going to get 250 out of this, and we're going to get the chance to play in the Super Bowl. And as long as you do what I just asked you to do, we're going to be good. We'll get Jalen healed up a little bit. But, I mean, I feed Saquon Barkley until the Commanders absolutely give up.
Make it boring. Make it boring.
It'll be hard. All right, so you guys, fantastic show today. You guys listening, I love your help. Fix my Giants. Look at your great thoughts on that. Fix them. They need to be fixed. But with you all and how we listen to T3 tonight, we thank you again for listening to Herb, Shane, and myself. We definitely appreciate it. Raj, thanks for jumping in. Those comments were fire today. I don't think Herb even saw the comments.
Can I say something real quick? Raj only had one comment today, and you guys think he was fire.
No, I thought the other one was him too.
No, that was all me. Raj posted under Raj. I posted under Herb and Raj. I'm sitting there driving in the car, flying, almost hitting pedestrians, and y'all are giving comments. Every comment I comment, y'all were like, hey, good job, Raj. I was like, what? I'm driving 90 down the road, watching you guys on my phone, leaving the job site. They're like, hey, Raj, good comment. Oh, Raj is fired today. I was like, these two. I didn't see either one of y'all on the streets because it would have been hit you on site.
Okay. While we have time for me to go ahead and try to fix this, when I saw this comment right here, all I saw was Herb was absent, and I just started laughing. I'm like, okay, I didn't even see that Roger's name was there. All these right here, I know who these are now.
Yeah,
but I didn't. But then in the moment, I'm like, okay, Rogers is doing double duty over here. I didn't realize that it was you, man. Okay, you good, man. Your comments is awesome too, bro.
I know what set you guys off because of this comment that I said. This comment is true. You two are stars. I'm just dragging the story up. But that was me.
Here's the thing, though, Herb. I knew because there was not a mention of a certain someone winning a fantasy football league where this was coming from.
Wow.
I knew Raj would have thrown in, by the way, I'm not wearing this t-shirt, and I really like it when I don't have to hear from Herb.
Yeah, true.
That's good banter for the holiday party. Man, but good show, guys. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday and your weekend. If you got snow and ice for y'all, be safe out there. I know you want to go to Walmart, but if you can, just stay home.
Please.
Don't hurt yourself out here. I mean, they got accidents all out here because people trying to drive and do the normal stuff, and it's not a normal situation. So be careful out there. Be safe out there. And thanks for watching the show with us. And we enjoyed having you on, listening and watching. Check us out next Thursday. Same bat time, same bat channel.